What's up guys and welcome. Today we're going over who is the single best legendary in the game if you had to choose one legendary only at A0. Who would it be? Who is the most versatile legendary? Who is the GOAT? And for that, ladies and gentlemen, I asked around in Discord and 4 legendary units made it into the finals. And these 4 are Hatsut, Vierna, Comet, and last but not least, Arrogance. So as you can see guys, I made here a tier list, a special tier list for this video, and it works basically like this. These 4 legendary units will compete against one another in each area of the game. And if, let's say, Björna is the best out of these in Gear Raid 1, for example, then she gets 3 points, the second best gets 2, third gets 1, and the last place gets +0. The unit with the most points in the end will win. For the units that have been chosen, quick notice there, it was without lords, so legendary that isn't a lord, of course. So let's get right into it and let's start it off with the campaign. So for the campaign we have last placed Arrogance, simply because he is a ground unit and not a platform unit, and in lots of campaign stages you can actually use a platform unit quite well to deal with multiple lanes at once, while it's a lot harder for a ground unit to do so. As for the first place in the campaign, it is without question guys, it is Comet getting his 3 points, his first 3 points right here, simply because he checks all boxes in the campaign. He is an absolute demon, cause campaign is magic damage heavy, check. His only weakness is his high skill cost, but campaign doesn't really need you to have ultimate up multiple times and doesn't need you to have the ultimate up quickly. So his only weakness is eradicated. On top of that guys, if we go and take a look at his skills, you can see Obliteration Strike deals 400% extra damage to his basic attack. Basically, he hits the opponent once, then the second strike will be the Obliteration Strike, which will wipe out any opponent, even the tanky ones. So he basically only needs 2 hits for any unit that comes in. He deals AoE damage, so he can deal with multiple units at once. He deals magic damage, and because of his potent second hit, he can wipe out tanky single units as well. His only weakness being the high cost of his ultimate is non-relevant, and his Infernal Plague is extremely useful as well, because he can just wipe out one enemy and then just with the plague wipe out multiple enemies on top of it without even having to attack. And here is just a little showcase I have for you guys with Comet. So I actually have 2 examples of his extreme power, and this first one is when I cleared 814 off campaign the first time when I got into the game. Let's just take a look how I did it, huh? Let's take a look and see how potent he is, and then I can actually explain what I meant. So first hit and the second hit, boom, nukes, right? Then let's see when these other units come in. So they go through the water and he just one-taps everyone. He just wipes the floor, and as you can see, how I cleared 814 is nothing but I put Comet on the left side without a healer, without a defender, without anything. And he dealt with this left side on his own, and I put my whole squad on the right side, because he was able to take out all these tanky fishmen by himself. Even when they came through the water and got buffed, he was able to take him out with 2 hits, as you can see, 1, 2. And the second hit just deals so much damage, it's insane. And then let's go for another actually quick showcase, just so you can see how much power he has in the campaign. And for that, let's go into expert campaign this time. Expert 8-2, ladies and gentlemen. So one of the last stages in the last, so yeah, one of the last stages in the whole campaign. Let's see how I beat 8-2. Let's just take a look. Okay, I put the defender down. What do I do then? Okay, I put Comet down. This is extreme campaign, ladies and gentlemen. This is extreme campaign. 1, 2. You see this? 1, 2. The second hit always hits hard. And because he clears these enemies, he will get his passive obliteration strike on a new enemy again. And when a new enemy comes in, he will get the obliteration strike again. And he will have this 400%, excuse me, extra damage all the time. He will have it up all the time, and he just wipes the floor with these units, as you can see. This is extreme. So I'm gonna go out here. I think enough about Comet. He is simply the god of campaign. He's unmatched. He can do everything. So let's see and take a look at who is the second place in campaign. Is it Hatsut or is it Vierna? Well, it was a quite close fight between these two, because both have some AoE damage, but Vierna of course has the advantage that she has more AoE and she deals magic damage, and lots of campaign stages need magic damage. But here's the kicker, guys. Hatsut is still second place in campaign. Why? Because her ultimate is just so strong. It deals completely with all the tanky enemies, and on top of it, she can deal better with single target bosses than Vierna can. So while Vierna is great, Hatsut can deal better with bosses, and the mobs she can deal just as good with as Vierna, and that's why she's second place. So yeah, Hatsut second place simply because she has better boss killing potential than Vierna, and she is basically just as good as a Vierna to kill single target and multiple opponents in campaign, because these multiple opponents, they are not that strong usually. Now next up we have the XP and gold rate, and here it is basically again Arrogance last place. I know. Why is Arrogance last place here? It's simple, because Arrogance doesn't have an ultimate that can be manual costed. Because if you go to a XP or gold rate, let's go to the gold rate. I showcase you my gold rate fight. The gold rate and the XP rate, the waves get stronger, right? And you need to actually time the ultimate timings quite well at the beginning. If you're starting out, you need to have your ultimate timings up properly, and Arrogance can't have that, which is why he is last place. Third place goes to Hatsut, simply because she has some AoE, but it's not as good as the AoE mages. Then second place will be, as you can see guys, I'm using in the gold raid, as you can see here, Comet, simply because of his passive that kills enemies after he killed one, and it just bounces and bounces, and he just wipes out everyone with his passive in the golden experience, which is why he is number one. So he gets up here, and Vierna gets 2 places. While Vierna is strong, Comet's passive here makes the gist, and he can also deal better with tanky gold golems than Vierna, which is why he is getting another first place. Now, guys, don't take this list for granted yet. This is just the beginning. Comet started off strong and Arrogance weak, but I can guarantee you Arrogance will make a comeback. He will make a comeback. So now let's get into the gear rates. And for the gear rate 1, we have on first and second place the 2 mages. But who is first, who is second? Is it Comet or is it Vierna? Well, many people would say, yeah, it's a clear thing. Vierna's execute is just that potent. She's just the goat of gear rate 1. And I actually have a bit of a different opinion on this. I have both of these units, and I think they're way closer and way more evenly matched than one might think. I use them both in my gear rate 1, And the thing is, they both deal insane amounts of AoE damage, but the reason why so many people rate Vierna so high is not just her execute, but these tier lists have her extremely high because her awakenings are insane, guys. Keep in mind that lots of these tier lists have awakenings considered, and Vierna's awakenings are really nutty compared to Comet's. But even though at a 0, I will still give first place to Vierna over Comet. While it's close, it were basically just two factors, and one of these wasn't even in Comet's control. So what were the two factors that pushed her above Comet? Well, the first factor that pushed her above Comet was the fact that Vierna has the better faction. She has the better faction at the moment for Gear Raid 1. She has the better lord, she has the better faction bonuses, and it's easier to play around the Vierna than to play around the Comet. Comet's ultimate just has quite a high cost, which is why he is second place. So for me, it basically was this small avenue that pushed Vierna above Comet, her faction and Comet's high skill cost. And of course, 35% execute is nice, but you need to get these units low first, right? And a well-built Comet can actually do this quite easily. Now, who is third and who is fourth in the Gear Raid 1? So again, Arrogance and Hatsut both actually have their place in Gear Raid 1. They can both be utilized in Gear Raid 1. And the thing is though, here's the kicker, guys. The thing is, while Arrogance is a ground unit, so he doesn't take a platform unit spot away, he has his auto cost ultimate. And as you saw, I can go over it again. As you saw in Gear Raid 1, at stage 19 and above, you will need to use your ultimates together simply because Eloin's heal will be insane. Eloin is the boss that you will have to face at Gear Raid 19 and above. And if you don't use all your ultimates together to burst the enemy down through the heals, you're not getting through it. And Arrogance simply cannot time this ultimate because it's auto, and Hatsut can because hers is manual, which is why Hatsut is better than Arrogance in Gear Raid 1. So this is our standings for now. So now let's get over Gear Raid 2. In Gear Raid 2, I can tell you guys, Arrogance, poor Arrogance, guys. Don't worry, he will make a comeback. Huh? He's like an anime character. Once the theme song comes up, he will make his comeback. He will have his power up. But for now, he's fourth place. Why is he fourth place? Well, I have Comet, I have Vierna, and when I was using Comet and Arrogance to clear the waves before the Golem uses Earthshake again, it was a lot easier for Comet to clear the waves than for Arrogance. Arrogance struggled quite a bit to clear the waves because he doesn't have the consistent AoE a Comet has. He has AoE in his ult, but if his ult isn't up, he doesn't, which is the problem for him for Gear Raid 2. Then, what is the third place? Well, the third place, while all of these three units are top tier for Gear Raid 2, Comet with his AoE, Hatsut with her ultimate, Vierna with her ultimate, it is actually Comet who is third place and not higher. Why is Comet third place? Exactly, it's about wiping the enemies out as fast as possible so you can despawn your units before the Golem attacks again. And the problem for Comet is that he needs a lot of time to get his ult up, while Vierna and Hatsut get their ultimates way faster than him, which is why they have an easier time and a faster time to clear these waves in between the Earthshakes from the Golems. And this leads us to our final two for Gear Raid 2, and this is Vierna and Hatsut. Both of these can actually deal extremely well with the waves which is why it's pretty simple for me. And this one is an exception to the course, and this is 2 points for 3 points for Vierna and 1, 2, 3 points for Hutsut, simply because they're matched. They're matched first place because they both can just one tap the waves with their ultimates, and their ultimates come up quickly. Now let's get into Gear Raid 3, and for Gear Raid 3, ladies and gentlemen, we have a clear first place, of course, and that is Hutsut. Is an easy first place. She makes 1, 2, 3 points right here, leads her to the top. Leads her to the top simply because she, at the moment, in the global server, she is pretty much the only unit that can deal with the right hand side easily. She can just wipe the right hand side with her ultimate real quick, and with her stealth she can do it really well and will give you so many better avenues for Gear Raid 3. Then for last place, it's also relatively clear for Gear Raid 3, and that is Comet. While Comet has his potent AoE attacks that could actually help you a lot with the boss, his range isn't actually good enough to help you properly, to help you enough to kill all of the spawns that come in, which makes him quite difficult to use. If his range was just a slight bit better, he would be great to put in the middle lane. Because of that, he will be the last place for Gear Raid 3. Now, Gear Raid 3, place 3 and 2. Who is it gonna be? Who is gonna be where? Well, it's quite tough, to be honest. It's quite a close battle between these two, because Arrogance can be placed as one of the rare units as a fighter in the middle lane, and Vierna can be placed on the left hand side quite easily, and she can deal with the left hand side. So both are quite useful in their aspect, but simply because I believe that Arrogance's place is better in the mid lane, because Arrogance, you have to consider, there's not that many platforms in the mid. There's not many platforms in the mid lane in the end game of Gear Raid 3, and if you have a fighter, it will make it a lot easier to clear the boss. So therefore Arrogance will be second place, which gives us Vierna at third place, but she still is used in endgame Gear Raid 3 and is still really potent for Gear Raid 3, don't get me wrong. Alright guys, as you guys can see, Arrogance made his first points now. Can he keep his streak going is the question. And well, next chapter will be the artifact material raid. And here is who is first place? Make your guess. Of course, it is Arrogance. So he starts to make his comeback right now. 1, 2, 3 points for Arrogance right there. So Arrogance is the best unit out of these four for artifact material raid. I think for everyone that's clear. And here's an exception to the rule now, guys. Here is an exception to the rule. All of these three units, ladies and gentlemen, will get 0 points for the artifact material raid. Why will they get 0 points? Because Cuke out damages all of them in the artifact raid. So there you have it, guys. These guys are not as useful as a Cuke, and because the Cuke will be used instead of them, they will get no points. They won't get used in that specific scenario, which is why Arrogance gets 3 points, the others get 0. Next up we have the guild boss, and again I think Arrogance's case is clear. 1, 2, 3, and he is back in business, ladies and gentlemen. Arrogance is back in business. One of the strongest fighters for the guild boss, one of the strongest damage dealers for the guild boss in the game. He can deal just insane amounts of damage. And you have Nightmare Faction Lord with Wrath. Of course, he will deal so much damage. It's insane. He's a strong faction. He has strong stats. He has strong attack speed. Everything. He checks all the boxes, and is probably, after Silitu, one of the best units for this content. Now who is second, who is third, and who is fourth? Fourth place is clear. This goes to Vierna right here. Vierna does only have AoE damage, she doesn't have any single target damage, and Guild Boss is just single target raid boss, so Vierna doesn't get any points. Now, between Hatsud and Comet, and honestly, it is close between Hatsud and Comet, simply because Comet's ultimate deals so much damage even to single target enemies, and he can deal a lot of damage through that. And at the beginning, when I started playing the game, I used him and he did millions of damage against the guild boss. And his ultimate can be casted every time the shield is up to make it easier for you to get rid of the shield as well. But here's the kicker. As we all know, Nightmare is a strong faction for the guild boss, and on top of that, she has some penetration, and overall she has a strong single target unit damage as well. Even though she is considered to be more of an AoE unit, she will get second place over Comet, mainly through her penetration and through her being Nightmare. Now let's get into Arena, and for Arena we have a clear winner again. 1, 2, 3. Hatsud is simply the best unit for Arena in the entire game, due to her having low cost and a fast ultimate uptime, and that is basically all that she needs, and a good kit as well, cause Arena is just so fast paced, and the low cost and the quick ult uptime make her such a strong unit for Arena. As for the second place for Arena, it was a bit of a hassle, but we got Arrogance getting up here. Second place for him in Arena. Why is Arrogance second? It is simply because he is single target extremely strong, he is in sustained DPS extremely strong, and can also be used in AoE and anti-air defense arena as well. So he can be used in all of the arena. And then third place, who is third place? And that is Comet. Comet, why Comet over Vierna? Comet can be used in more content than Vierna. Comet is stronger in the anti-air arena because his attack, his base attack actually is extremely strong and can actually win you rounds in the first round, and his ultimate can actually win you other rounds later than that as well. On top of that, even in AoE arena, if you play it right, Comet can just wipe the floor just like Vierna does, and Comet and Vierna are, in my opinion, at a similar level. I played with Comet, I won against multiple Viernas, and yeah, so Vierna is just not as versatile. For single target arena, Comet is stronger because he has more single target damage. For DPS, sustained DPS arena, Comet is better because his ultimate just wipes the floor with these tanky enemies, and that is basically my reasoning for Comet's placement right here in arena. As you can see in the background here, I just beat a Comet plus Vierna with only a Comet, simply because he put a Vierna first, and I used the Comet slash Dolores strat. And this just shows it doesn't really matter if you use Comet or Vierna, you can still beat both of them. It just depends on who's geared better. And I just put this back in the background because one guy told me when I did my AoE arena guide that it's impossible to win against the Vierna and Comet if you only have one of them. And I promised him to actually show him a showcase because I knew I had some footage of it, and here you go. That just shows my strat is working, and yeah, back to the video. Now as for the last category, we have the Void Rift, ladies and gentlemen. And the Void Rift, obviously it switches around, and it can be hard to actually say who is the best in the Void Rift due to that, who is stronger, who is less stronger. But I personally say simply cause of Torador in the end. Simply cause of Torador, Arrogance gets first place here. Cause in the end, you need to have strong fighters against Torador. You cannot use any platform units basically against Baron as well, and this is why Arrogance just there are not as many options for fighters than there are for platform units. And this is why Arrogance here gets first place. As for the second place in the Void Rift, ladies and gentlemen, it is basically the same case as in the campaign already, and that is that Comet can deal with tanky enemies, he can deal with multiple enemies, he can actually burst bosses down, and therefore his versatility get him the second place in this aspect. Now, third place, who is it? Vierna or Hatsut? While Vierna does have really strong AoE damage, Hatsut actually can deal better with tanky enemies, and she can deal better with the boss, which leaves us to the third place being Hatsut, which leaves us to the final ranking, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. We've gone through all the content, and Hatsut is our winner for today. So, if you pulled her this weekend, congratulations, you managed to get the overall most versatile, strongest legendary in the entire game. Other than that, I'm actually quite surprised of how well Arrogance managed to get himself back into the game and how much of a comeback he achieved. And also I think Comet being up here is quite impressive. It is simply due to him not being personally the best unit for some of the hard content, the single best unit for different hard content, but because he is just so versatile and he can be used anywhere, and that's why he got so many points at different instances of the game and managed to actually tie with Arrogance. Now, Vierna may be on the lower end of this list, but keep in mind these are the 4 top units, and Vierna is actually just there because maybe she's not as versatile, but she, for the things that she is good for, she is the best, single best, hands down best unit for AoE damage, like Gear Raid 1. So when she's getting used, she is popping, like Gear Raid 1, Gear Raid 2, she's going off, and she's going off hard, so keep that in mind. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have different opinions, please leave them in the comments below, and don't just say, oh, you're not better, right? Why? Okay? Just give a reasoning, or just like I did. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Ronaldo, and I'm out. Peace.